here's some words I thought I'd never say. Russell Brand is doing the Lord's work when it comes to critiquing the great and powerful and complaining and being concerned about the direction in which our societies are heading. And I just never thought I would say that because I've never been a fan of Russell Brand at all. He's a comedian, but I never particularly found him funny. And he's got a long history of basically being a bit of an edgelord. Like, you can just go to his Wikipedia page and see all the scandals he's been embroiled in. He began as a comedian, became an MTV presenter, then jumped onto other presentation of other shows. And then in 2007, sort of 2013, he appeared in various Hollywood movies. And then he went back to doing stand-up. And then he became basically a full-time political activist. And it's like, okay, but what are the politics that he's promoting? Well, basically communism. So it was like, right, okay, I'm not a fan. But, I mean, he's had many scandals, like calling Nigel Farage a pound shop Enoch Powell and stuff like that. But he got in a lot of trouble in 2008 with Sachsgate. You probably don't remember this. No, him and Jonathan Ross decided to phone up Andrew Sachs, who played Manuel in Fawlty Towers, and left a message because Russell Brand had dated his granddaughter or something, and just saying, like, F his daughter and stuff like that, or granddaughter. It's like, okay, that's gross. You know, Jonathan Ross and Russell Brand, I think, got fired from the BBC, and Jonathan Ross got suspended. But anyway, it was puerile nonsense, and this was the kind of thing you had during noughties. But then in about 2013, he became a commie activist. He did some guest editing for the Statesman? New Statesman, yeah. And then appeared on Newsnight, where he was grilled by Jeremy Paxman. And Jeremy Paxman, because he was calling for a revolution. It's always good, isn't it? Multi-millionaire, famous celebrity. I want a revolution. Okay, let's appropriate some property. Yours first.
I think that's a quote there. A socialist egalitarian system based off the massive redistribution of wealth.
Yeah.
Yay, okay.
Yeah. We'll start with your mansions, Russell. No, but this is Paxman was like, okay, what would the revolution look like? And he basically was like, well, communism. It's like, okay, thanks, Russell. But then in 2014, he's been on YouTube for longer than this, but he began this YouTube series called The Trews, which I was never impressed with. I watched a few of these episodes and I was just like, it's just communist talking points. And so I wasn't particularly interested. He had guests such as Alan de Botton, Alistair Campbell, and George Monbiot. And you pointed out that he had one interview with Ed Miliband.
Yeah, so he said to everyone, don't vote. That was part of the revolution on that brilliant page as well. And then he invited Ed Miliband around, and Ed Miliband spent like an hour with him. And then afterwards he was like, guys, all those papers you ripped up, put them back together and go and vote for Ed Miliband. And it was not well received.
Ed Miliband. I mean, he's got Corbyn's communist politics, so why Ed Miliband?
Yeah,
but anyway.
Well, it was at the time. It was before Corbyn.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, he probably endorsed Corbyn. I haven't actually found him talking about Corbyn actually, but the thing is, and so with this all laid out, Russell Brand is not normally the kind of person I'm like, yeah, so he's doing a good job of late, but then he started getting kind of based, and we'll just go through just some of the videos he's been putting out, and I'm actually quite impressed. We won't bother with any clips or anything. But in this one, he's just like, look, basically the people at the top view you as the enemy of the state, like view the regular person as the enemy of the state. It's like, yeah, we've got lots of evidence of that. But this was back in November 2021, so it's like, okay, fair enough. And the next one is cheering CNN just being called out to its face. So the mainstream media, bad, yeah, okay, agree. I mean, Russell Brand, he's had bad coverage from the mainstream media, but he's never really had bad coverage from the mainstream media, right? He's never been called a Nazi and this and that and the other. You know, it's always been like, oh, isn't Russell Brand like so kooky? You know, because he's always been very left wing, and so they want to protect their own. But now that's changing, in fact. But anyway, yeah. So cheering on the reputational destruction of CNN, good stuff. Opposing the censoring of the "Let's Go Brandon" meme.
Good.
He found it funny, apparently. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's good
surprising. Yeah, it is. Admitting that Trump did not collude with Russia. And this, of course, got him labeled as being pro-Trump. Whereas now, I think these days he calls himself an anarchist and says that he thinks that Trump and Biden are basically two wings of the same bird. You know, the sort of, I'm not interested in politics position, which is okay. You know, but he was, misrepresented by the media. Turns out Trump was right about Russia, and he made a video telling everyone about it. Nearly a million views on it. It's good stuff. He was opposing facial recognition software. Good for him. Calling out Australian tyranny. Again, another good. You know, like
I'm just imagining you just hitting like on all of these. Just
well,
like,
if I bothered liking YouTube videos, I would. I just watch them then.
okay, but all good stuff.
But yeah, no, like all things I totally 100% agree with. How the media is dying and is paid to lie. Yep, that's correct. Well done, Russell. The fact that we're being led by total morons, which is true. Our leaders are actually deeply unimpressive people on an individual level. And that is worth noting. He's opposed vaccine mandates. How is, like, he's not, like, in the left-wing narrative anymore.
No, I'm not finding anything to disagree with.
No, not at all. And the thing is, in the last, say, 5 months, all of his videos, almost all of them, have been this sort of consistent, almost the David Icke position, frankly. Like, you know, all the power structures are bad and all the people in them corrupt and everything they want to do is bad. It's like, yeah, well done. That's true. That's absolutely correct. He opposes social media censorship by Silicon Valley. Regular people being silenced. He was defending the Canadian truckers. He's even been complaining about the sort of financial tyranny that we're finding ourselves under, as in, you know, Trudeau's forever emergency of there is always going to be a problem and we're going to freeze your bank accounts as and when we want.
I'm wondering if this is the point at which people in the left started to turn on him.
No, he's very popular. And, of course, he's been calling out the Great Reset. It's not a conspiracy theory. And the next one is him just calling out the World Economic Forum directly using James Lindsay's hand-drawn meme of Klaus Schwab, which is nice. And so I was just like, wow, okay. Like, all of his videos are just basically like this now. And I was like, okay, great. Great. Russell Brand is doing the Lord's work. He's actually doing something really useful. And honestly, I don't disagree with any of these opinions in the last few months. They're all correct, frankly. And again, I never thought I'd say that. And so what do you think the response to Russell Brand being correct was?
Well, that's why I say the Trudeau thing seems to be a turning point, because everyone who criticized Trudeau was a Nazi and needs to be called a Nazi. So I'm imagining that's what the response was.
Well, Russell Brand, you saw the graphic going around on Twitter where it's like, look at all these right-wing people Joe Rogan's had on, and Russell Brand's one of them. One of the right-wingers.
I want a socialist egalitarian society with a redistribution of wealth. That's right wing, all right?
That's right. I'm a conservative, says Russell Brand. And so there have been a slew of these articles, but basically passive-aggressive articles, and weirdly, they're all being written by women. I don't know why. They're all really, really passive-aggressive, and they're all being written by women. And very few of them are really talking about, like, the actual controversial things he's done in his history, right?
They never do.
No, they're just basically saying, oh, he's become right-wing, a conspiracy theorist. And it's like, okay, not much of a charge. So what you're saying, he's basically Nostradamus?
It's like me, this institution in a newspaper. He's saying things against our institutions and saying we're bad.
Yeah,
like,
but calling
that's the
someone a
articles.
conspiracy theorist is literally saying, okay, well, they're just ahead of the curve.
Well, no, because if you're in the institution of, say, like a national newspaper or whatever,
Yeah.
you're part of the conspiracy. Like, you literally all
yes.
meet each other for drinks and have WhatsApp chats.
We'll get to that, in fact. Right, so this is the first one by Clemence Miquelon. Russell Brand is the new Joe Rogan. That's an endorsement, you dummy.
Yeah, that's great.
The search for Joe Rogan's British counterpart has ended, and Russell Brand is the lucky winner. I know, I'm disappointed too. Who are you? Why do I care? Boo-hoo! Like,
Disappointed in what?
yeah, disappointed that, it wasn't someone left-wing who's pro-mass media?
Why wasn't it Owen Jones? It's like, doesn't have any support, that'll be
no,
why.
No, that's the question. Why isn't it Owen Jones? Because Owen Jones is not speaking truth to power. Owen Jones spends his entire career defending power for some reason. But this is the ages we live in. One minute, a comedian is going about his life, building a career, and the next minute, he's peddling conspiracy theories on YouTube and quoting Glenn Greenwald's newsletter at length. No, I don't like it. Yes, I'm exhausted. This isn't your blog. Like, what are you doing? I don't care how exhausted you are, but cry harder, because that's my fetish. left-wing opinion writers going, oh, I'm exhausted. Yes. Maybe it's time to quit. Eh? Have you thought about that? Brand's video titles can be sorted into 3 broad categories. First, the ones that refer to an undefined they, an apparently powerful entity that the viewers have supposedly been blind to, at least until now, when Russell Brand has finally stepped up to tell us all about them. in his defense, he literally names the people he's talking about.
It's not undefined if we give them the names
Yes,
that they have on their birth certificates.
He's literally got on the thumbnail Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum.
Who could it be? Who could it be?
We don't know. But there are going to be millions of people who don't know what the World Economic Forum is. And so, I mean, it is kind of, something that people have been blind to until now. The videos themselves use the language of conspiracies. English. Because they all use English. Brand affectionately calls his viewers awakening wonders and occasionally welcomes them on a purported journey towards truth. Well, honestly, right, and I've watched probably a couple of dozen of Brand's videos in the last few months. He is telling the truth. He's genuinely he's giving the other side of the story that the media is legitimately ignoring and deliberately omitting from their narratives. He actually is. I never thought I'd say it. Never thought I'd be in praise of Russell Brand, right? Where Joe Rogan leaned into the I'm just asking questions angle, Brand has opted for the language of openness of non-judgmentalism. Oh no, not a man being open and non-judgmental. He too is a guy asking questions. He doesn't like boundaries. He doesn't like dogma. He, much like any Twitter reply guy who's ever polluted your mentions, get off Twitter, lady, just wants to have a conversation. Oh no, how terrible. A conversation. A non-judgmental conversation.
Right.
The lifeblood of democracy.
This is all happening where you're not involved as well. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Like, Russell is off on his YouTube channel, uploading stuff and having a conversation, right? And you're sat somewhere else, and you're not even presumably logged into YouTube checking him out. Because if you are, then you're doing it to yourself. Like, this is not Russell Brand invading your world.
No.
You're turning up to his channel and going, "Argh!"
But
I can't stand it.
He is invading her turf. The media, as Mika Brzezinski pointed out, they're the ones who program people's minds. They're the narrative setters, and that's how they think of themselves. And Russell Brand is getting like 50 million views a month. And so
But again, it's not personal.
it kind of is to them.
I know, but in the sense of, like, it's not really about her.
No,
it's about
not.
the institution.
Although she has tried to personalize it, as you saw in the title of this article.
I know, but it's
But
pathetic.
It's absolutely pathetic.
She's as replaceable with any other stooge.
Absolutely. But the point is, he's invading on their turf, and he's not dogmatic, and he's not judging people. And it's like, oh no, the right thing to do. Like, be nice, Don't be, have an open conversation. It alarms and depresses me that people are making money becoming conspiracy theorists, while at the same time painting themselves as the rare speakers of truth. It alarms me that the media get entire careers just spreading lies, to be honest, but then we're different people. Anyway, let's get to the next one. How did Brand go from stardom to just conspiracy theories? This is the narrative now.
From Luis here?
Yep, from Louise. Yep, honestly, it's all women. Is this Lewis Chilton? Maybe this is a man, actually. It's just written as if it's by a woman. No, it's very, again, feminine and passive-aggressive. With his beard, long hair, and loose-fitting, wide-neck shirts, it's hard to shake the sense there's something cultish about Brand's whole presentation. All right, lady, which I assume you are.
Otherwise, you're a very astute man.
Yeah, very, very fashion-conscious man or a woman. And yet, despite all the Matrix-like, there's real truthing, Brand's videos are thoroughly beholden to his puerile sense of humor, with each new revelation incongruously seasoned with a splash of his insufferable shtick. Don't like it. He's not funny. He's making fun of me. Too bad. Now, it's true that the evils of Western foreign policy are often omitted from mainstream news reporting or largely downplayed. So Brand's right. And he says this repeatedly in this. Well, he is right about that, but I don't like him. But is this really because of some grand orchestrated effort to keep the public ill-informed? More likely it's just for brevity or relevancy's sake, or for legal reasons, or due to vague and unspoken corporate pressures. What do you make of that, Callum?
Corporate pressures. As if Brand is the one who's being controlled by big tobacco.
Yep.
Not the huge, powerful, mainstream corporate media.
But is this really because of some grand orchestrated effort to keep the public informed? Yeah, it absolutely is. There's direct pressure from people like Jeff Zucker and various, other moguls, down to the journalists who actively go out of their way to report mistruths, to deliberately warp the story. The fact checkers who actually say, no, this thing that's factually true, let's take the Hunter Biden laptop story, that's not real. and therefore social media is just going to censor it. And it's like, no, it is genuinely an orchestrated effort to keep the public ill-informed. Yeah, that's all it is. And this is why YouTube has an editorial policy. There are a bunch of things on YouTube that we're not allowed to say, because otherwise this would counteract a bunch of their narratives. And so saying, oh, it's more likely just for brevity or relevancy's sake. How could that be? Relevancy's sake, the things that people want to talk about are relevant to the subject, and you're literally forbidding them? Don't give me this nonsense. But anyway, maybe he truly wants to awaken his followers to the world's ugly realities. Maybe he just likes the attention. It's probably both. Like, he doubtless likes the attention, but it seems that he thinks he's doing some good here, which is nice. And to show that this is a kind of corporate class, you can see even the Telegraph getting in on this. Why? Why is he the Mad Hatter of conspiracy theories? But this is the narrative, this is the stigma we're going to try and attach to Russell
If you were
Brand.
going to pick someone, I'd pick the guy who thinks that lizard people run the world. Not the guy who's like, yeah, Klaus Schwab is claiming that he controls your government, because there's him on camera saying it.
I mean, he did interview David Icke.
Okay.
So, speaking of lizard people. But the thing about this is, I don't think they understand that the public really likes conspiracy theories. They were really, really popular until YouTube censored them all.
We should be allowed to as well.
Yes. I love conspiracy theories. They're hilarious.
Tell me more about Bigfoot.
Well, occasionally you get a conspiracy theory that suggests that Bigfoot and UFO activity is connected. It's hilarious. I don't know why. It's never fully explained, obviously. But the point is, conspiracy theories are really popular with the public. So going, oh, look at that Russell Brand. He's got all these conspiracy theories. People are like, oh, brilliant. I haven't been able to get a good conspiracy theory for ages. So, no, good for Russell Brand. He's not just a conspiracy theorist. He's actually doing some good work, which, frankly, shocked me because I've never been a fan. And a friend of mine, back in 2014, was like, oh man, I really like Russell Brand. Like, send me his videos. I'm like, yeah, but he's a commie. He's like, I know, but he's just really nice. And the other day I was like, okay, Russell Brand is actually winning me over now, mate. Fair enough. You were right. I was wrong. Just took a while to see it.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this one between Josh and Harry on the collapse of Venezuela and the policies that led there. If you want to follow Harry, you can follow him at Getter at @HarryLotusEater. Thank you and goodbye.